People often ask me, how do pharmaceutical companies use inbound processes to build better relationships with healthcare professionals? Well, the truth is, healthcare professionals do not make split decisions on prescribing medicines. They use their years of experience, their clinical background, their medical education, their relationships with trusted peers and networks to make those decisions. And the idea that a clinician will see a pharma promotional ad or an outbound communication and immediately change their mind on what kind of medicine to prescribe to a particular patient is, to me, quite absurd. Of course, ads and outbound content has its place in marketing, and I would highly advocate for using traditional advertising to keep brand awareness high and keep people aware of your product so that they know it's available to them when they need it. But if you want to start changing behavior, you're going to have to produce a much deeper and more engaging journey than a typical outbound ad. And this is the power of inbound to reach your audiences. However, with an inbound approach, the goal is to rent third-party media. So you only use it once, and the goal is to convert customer data from the third party to your own first-party systems. In this case, you don't have to spend as much money when you want to then continue to communicate with that clinician through your own email channels or your own website channels, for example. So how can you stay on top of producing that content while maintaining high quality and also delivering on time without feeling burnt out yourself? There are two ways that I recommend doing this. The first is to focus on quality content and not to overdo things. People typically tend to do as much as possible across multiple channels when it's actually just as effective to use one particular channel and one particular activity that can result in lots of content. Good example of this is webinars. If you have a great educational, engaging webinar series in a content niche that's relevant to your product and is highly relevant to the audience's problems or needs, then you're going to get a regular interaction with that content. With a webinar, you've obviously got peer-to-peer and networking experiences that we know that healthcare professionals like. You can also create short form and long form video content from those webinars due to the fact that they can be recorded. You can also transcribe key information from those meetings and produce, say, consensus reports or meeting updates, or even articles that you can publish on your website and push through your newsletters, for example. So you can see how you could produce a lot of content just from one specific activity. The other recommendation I have is to be a bit more strategic in your thinking. You can build out a journey that allows your customers to consistently receive content without you as that content goes out. If you've got the right CRM capabilities set up, your reps, for example, will be able to see if somebody engaged with email 3, and email 3 might be about a particular topic, and they will be able to follow up and see if someone wants extra information about email 3. Gives you some extra information about that particular customer and allows you to engage in a personalized way. Making sure you draw out your campaign, literally in a touch point map showing every single component in the pathway, because you're going to need to measure how one component leads to the next, and that's going to define what your KPIs are for that particular campaign. Let's use a really simple example. Say you have a social media post which is promoted, so it's an ad. That ad would result in someone going to a website page where they get some information and they get the opportunity to engage with it, either through a sign-up form or through some kind of download. Following that, they then get contacted by a rep who has additional information, and the goal is for that rep to book a meeting. So your end KPI is how many meetings can you actually book. There are a bunch of what I would call global KPIs, which are typically pretty good to measure, and I'll just list out those for you just in case they're pretty useful for everyone. These are the kind of things that you wouldn't measure for a campaign, but you would measure on a monthly basis to see how the health of your marketing is going and where you need to focus at one particular time. How many new subscribers or consents are you getting per month? How many of those consents are actually qualified as target customers? How many of those marketing qualified leads turn into sales qualified leads who are interested in product conversations? How many new customers or patient starts are you getting per month? What is your account revenue versus monthly target? What is the account satisfaction for each of your core accounts? Or for example, you might use NPS score instead. And what is the percentage versus target number of customers at each level of adoption? If you can't measure these key things, I think it would be really important to be able to measure them and to make sure that the marketing team and the sales team, so the whole commercial team, can get access to these metrics on a monthly basis, look at what's not performing as well, and using that as a key indicator of where you should be focusing.